Hi, everybody. I'm gonna start by giving you a warm Hawaiian greeting. Are you guys ready? I want to get some response.
Yes.
Aloha! Aloha! One more time. Aloha! Aloha! All right. Thank you. Mahalo for that.
Mahalo.
I'm going to start by telling you that I feel very happy to be here in Hawaii's 9th island, Las Vegas. And, I feel very comfortable in Vegas because everywhere I go, from Henderson to the Strip to downtown Vegas, I see the influence of the Hawaiian community. And I always wondered how that happened. What is that relationship? Just out of curiosity, do you guys know somebody from Hawaii that lives in Vegas here? Anybody? Wow, that's quite a lot of hands. So I dug a little bit deeper and found a story about an entrepreneur that has changed the landscape of downtown Vegas with the help of the Hawaiian community. And it's the story of Sam Boyd. Sam Boyd came to Vegas around 1941 and worked his way up in the gaming industry and eventually created the California Hotel. And it was designed for the Californians that never came. And a few years later, it was sink or swim, and he decided to swim across the Pacific Ocean to Hawaii and started promoting Las Vegas and his hotel to the people of Hawaii. And he placed a bet, and he thought that the Hawaiians would be good and passionate gamblers, and they were, and still are. So they came. But after a few days, they got a little bit hungry, and they went home, because they didn't like the food here. And Sam Boyd started hiring cooks and chefs and staff members to Las Vegas from Hawaii. And they brought their rice cookers, and they make teriyaki chicken and rice, loco moco, and oxtail soup. And well, guess what happened? It worked. It completely changed and brought the business back. So much so that California Hotel was able to expand itself and allowed Sam to create new businesses in downtown Vegas. But what was also very interesting is that he adopted the aloha spirit from the Hawaiian people and instilled it into the culture of his company. So the people were very relaxed, very friendly, and it was all about giving, it was all about service, it was all about giving the customers what they needed, what they wanted. And with that culture ingrained in his companies, he was able to take over the management of Stardust and Fremont Hotel, and the rest is history. Today, Sam's businesses are the backbone of the downtown Vegas and experience. And the Hawaiian community is still a very strong part of that downtown experience. In fact, I think there's about 260,000 people that comes through Vegas every year from Hawaii. And given our population of 1.2 million, that's 20% of our state that comes in here, comes through Vegas. So that's the story of Hawaii and Vegas, but it's also a story of how an entrepreneur had taken a group of people and brought them to an environment that wasn't designed for them and created a new culture and new landscape. So how many of you Vegas tech people are going to change the landscape of downtown in the next 5-10 years? Say aye. Aye. Great. So I'm born in Hong Kong, but I grew up in this terrible place called Paradise. And my friends went to the beach after school, and I stayed home and listened to The Cure and got depressed. But there was hope. There was hope. I had a great teacher, and they told me about this place far away on the other side of Earth called Europe, and there were people like Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and they did masterpieces of art. And so as a kid, I was fascinated about being a Renaissance man. I wanted to be this kind of well-rounded creative, and somehow I associated design and architecture to those traits. And so for the last 15, 20 years, I've been working on a variety of projects, from train stations to a sculptural bridge to public space, and even an iPad case, which is available on Amazon.com if you're interested. And it all started with Uncle Alan. Uncle Alan told me, hey, if you want to be an architect or a designer like me, you should get your butt off the island and go learn some new culture, new languages, meet some new people, find some new mentors. And so I did. I was a little bit dazed and confused, and grabbed my backpack and went to Europe. I was fascinated by Dutch architecture and design at the time. It was very progressive, still is, and I seriously wanted to learn from them. So I went there and found two very serious architects that took me in. And before I know it, I was living in a hole in the wall and was part of an artistic community, and on the west side of a city called Rotterdam. And it was a very interesting time because the city was going through a transformation, and like in downtown Vegas, there are times it was a little bit shady, and it was an eclectic mix of drug addicts and drug dealers and prostitutes and a few architects and designers and car dealers and one lost Hawaiian. It was a very interesting time because we were able to experiment with the housing fabric. We were making holes and connections to all over the place. But most importantly, for the housing authorities, we were actually placed there. We were living there practically free. And we generated a lot of new energy and we were kind of the catalyst for change there. And we kind of looked out for neighborhoods. For the next 6-7 years, I never had a car. I rode a bicycle everywhere or walked. And a typical Saturday was going to the market, open market, buying fresh fruits and vegetables, and perhaps bumping into a friend who would ultimately invite me to have a coffee and an apple pie in a terrace. And coffee became a beer, one beer became 2 beers, and then eventually somebody would say, hey, aren't you hungry? Yeah, what did you buy at the market? I said, well, I got some fish. Well, I got some vegetables. Well, let's go back to my place and cook up something. So very spontaneously, we would have these dinner parties. And of course, the community and friends knew about it, and they all came. And that was our Saturday night going to Sunday morning. And everybody was intoxicated and under the influence. So that's okay, because nobody drove home. Everybody took their bicycle, walked, or crawled. So I thought it was very interesting because the city allowed me to have that kind of spontaneous lifestyle. It offered that infrastructure. If it wasn't for the bike lanes or the proximity to the open spaces, to the market, or even the width of those sidewalks so that the small businesses could place those tables to create that terrace, then I wouldn't have had those opportunities to have this serendipity lifestyle. So I was fascinated by how the Dutch designed their cities and how they approach urban design. And Holland is a very small country, and like in Hawaii, there's only a limited amount of space to develop. So every square foot is debated, is looked at and talked about and drawn to see whether it's going to be developed or preserved. And so they're very conscious about urban sprawl and not letting development sprawling into the nature. And so by containing their development, they're allowed to create a very dense and intimate urban setting. They invest in alternative energy and manipulate their water and landscape to their advantage, and all in the name of preserving their asset, the land, agriculture, and landscape. So their view of the landscape is a little bit different in a way from us. When we look out the window and we see a tree, that's maybe your landscape. Or perhaps in the city, on the lobby, there are some shrubs and trees around the building, and that's your landscape. Or perhaps even a city block is kind of set aside for a park, and that's the landscape that we know it. But the Dutch urban designers and city planners, they see everything as a coherent whole. It's not about having my own plot and thinking about, what am I going to develop here? Am I going to make a gated community and create more, driveway culture? Or am I going to have my plot, and how does my plot relate to that plot that's not owned by me, and how can I complement each other? And how can I develop something that can benefit me and them and the other way around, and be part of the system and be part of the community. And by having those dialogues and having those, that attitude of creating and developing, you create a very interesting and dynamic city. And a lot of times the city is orchestrating that, but everybody's at least talking and know what is on the agenda and working towards something. So I had a lot of Dutch mentors, and I was able to work on larger and larger projects. And so one thing I did learn is that, urban design is not just about going away and doing my masterpiece sketch and in the attic, but it's really a collaborative effort and having all the expertise on the table, all the parties on the table, and kind of communicating and teasing out the best of everyone. And then by synthesizing all of that together, then you create a coherent urban plan or vision, not only about the development or the buildings themselves, but also about open spaces and transportation, public lighting and everything. And so it's not only about the buildings and how high you can build, but also the spaces between the buildings, from facade to facade. Whether the streets are wide enough for trees and shading and bike lanes, or whether it should be a very small and intimate streetscape. And by creating, amenity spaces, and we're not afraid to break the, city grid. It can have some dynamic and organic shapes in there, so that everybody feels a little bit like they're part of a new community. And creating open spaces that support the diversity of small businesses, creating, location. So my ingredients for a very sustainable community is the 4 Ps. And they are the people. You need to bring in the people and attract people into a certain space at a certain time. You need to have profit. You need to have small businesses that can grow and contribute to this community. And planet, it's about your attitude towards green and sustainability. And of course, it's all tied together with place. And that placemaking, if you add a little bit of PDF, I call proximity, diversity, and flexibility, and you give it a little bit of time to evolve, and having those same ingredients in there, then you'll have a very vibrant community and a sense of, and a new development with a sense of place. And and perhaps you have a roadmap or a vision that acts as a way for everybody to know where you want to grow towards to. It doesn't mean that it has to be like that, but at least there's a sort of overall vision. And with that vision, you can sustain the unknown, let's say the economic conditions, the political changes, and perhaps even technological advancement. So anyway, last year around this time, I was in Moscow working on Mega Tower, and don't ask me how or why I was there, but I was walking on the street of Moscow, minus 20, 30 degrees, very cold, freezing, dark, gray, and I was just wondering, what the hell am I doing here? And I thought maybe it's time to listen to Uncle Alan and bring a lot of my experiences back home. So I did. I came back to my beautiful state. And it's a great time to be back because we have, like Las Vegas, our first Fridays, and we support the local community and art. And small businesses like galleries and boutiques are popping up. But I'm also back for another reason. The Hawaii kind of forgot that we're not like Las Vegas, and we only have limited amount of space, and we're not growing, and we're not very sustainable about our land use at times. You can only see the small little green at the bottom of the page, this photo, I mean. Or we have, we built highways systems so big that there are no developable land anymore. So we have to live farther away, and that hence creates a need for more roads. And we have a poverty and a homeless situation that is on the rise. So I decided that I want to join forces with Architects Hawaii to leverage my reach. And I have now the opportunity to work with a group of talented designers with the Aloha spirit and also a community, a heart for the community. And hopefully together we can address a lot of issues and urban challenges of Hawaii, all of Hawaii, maybe including the 9th island and elsewhere that could use our help. Thank you very much. Mahalo.